This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. Whether we're talking about the first game days of a new season, whether we're talking about exorbitant parking prices, new academic things going on, new recruits, we can talk about anything and everything, but at its heart, at its core, it's all about its sports. It is all about its culture and, of course, the Auburn family. And I guess since it's about the... Excuse me, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here is the real question.
Listen, don't you know I just show up places these days?
Clint warned me this might happen, but I didn't expect it to happen so suddenly. But here you are. You just drove into the driveway, and our listeners only, those aren't viewing, are probably incredibly surprised right now.
Right. The viewers are surprised now that you listeners out there understand what's going on. We are live in location together for episode 50.
50.
Did you honestly think we'd ever make it?
Yes and no. I thought we would make it to football season. The summer, we both talked about it was going to be tough.
Yeah.
And it ended up being okay. We made it pretty seamlessly.
Mm-hmm.
Came up with some good ideas. Enough happened for us to talk about.
Yep.
But here we are on episode 50, the day after the first home game of the 2023 season. So we made it.
We made it. Well, we made it in some sense of the word. My wallet didn't make it. My frustrations at times yesterday didn't make it. I told Jessica this the other day or actually this morning, the days are running together at this point, that yesterday was such a high and low day. Like I went from peak to valley all day. Today has been nothing but just like wins for me because I've had some great things on a Sunday afternoon here in Auburn happen. But all that being said, episode 50. Did I give you enough time to come up with a 50?
Episode 50, I mean, we've been looking forward to episode 50 for a while, so episode 50 was no shock. I think you'd be hard-pressed not to think about the legend Vicky Orr and her son, Austin Wiley, both wearing number 50. But it was a home football game weekend, so we have to talk about Reese Dismukes, one of my favorite centers of all time in Auburn football history.
Good one.
And then we'll talk about Marcus Harris and the defensive line that performed yesterday. So all good number 50s and all quality, worthy honors of having number 50 this weekend.
If I ever questioned your homework, the fact that you just busted out with Vicky Orr to start off with, I mean, come on.
A worthy honor too of also having that first women's statue, but we've discussed that before. We'll have to discuss it.
We're going to open up that can of worms already into 2 minutes into the show already. So Marcus Harris, Vicky Orr, Austin Wiley, Reese Dismukes was a good one. I feel like there's another one out there that we're missing.
There's probably a baseball 50 I'm missing, but
yeah,
I couldn't get it off the top of my head.
So you guys definitely let us know if we missed one of your favorite 50s out there or some significant like other number 50 related to, like there's like a moment or something like that. I don't know how the 1950 season was. It was
1957 was good, right?
Yes. Not quite.
Anything that ends in a 3 was probably good. So I'll say 1953 had to be a good season. But we'll celebrate them in some capacity.
Except for 2003.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. All right, Auburn potpourri with the last bit of this segment. Let's talk about, how about this? Recruiting. Let's just go ahead and discuss it. I mean,
does it ever end?
Well,
Are we ever not done?
Are we ever not done in a freeze warning? However you want to throw that in. Can we make jokes about the freeze warning still?
Has it been overplayed? Are some people upset about it? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it just seems like it might be a little bit overdone at this point, but I think we'll still have our...
Some might say people are getting the cold shoulder from it. I don't really know. But
I can confirm in person Austin is even more of a dad joke person than I really
They're
thought.
growing. They're growing step by step.
Yes.
But oh my gosh, I mean, another weekend where Auburn already had plenty of football momentum. Right. They get 2 big commits, one for 24, one for 25, both big offensive linemen that every Auburn fan's always happy about getting nowadays. I mean, the momentum just keeps rolling on and off the recruiting trail.
Absolutely. Like the big thing this weekend, obviously, is the win, which we're going to talk about. But when we're discussing recruiting, as much as people have been focused on offensive line, you've got to really look no further than that for what people's interest has peaked. Yes, they're happy about the win. They're happy about rolling Timber's corner. But when it comes to offensive line recruiting, we've discussed it ad nauseum that it's just been awful over the last couple of years.
Yes. And I mean, through different tenures, through different offensive line coaches, it's been a struggle. And the performance on the field the last few years have shown the effects of that. And
Right.
so it's good to see already in one game some good Auburn offensive line play. And I think recruits, that can only help, right? When you see how you'll be used and how well the rest of the unit can play. So far, so good for the Freeze crew.
Do we even name the guys?
Spencer, how do you say that?
Spencer Dowling is how I say it.
Spencer Dowling.
Maybe it's Doolin, but I think it's Dowling.
Dowling makes sense. And then DeAndre Carter for 2024.
That was a big one.
A big one. The number one rated interior offensive lineman by a lot of services, all the way out in California. So
you don't hear that much.
You do not. So hopefully he'll get an up-close personal look at the team next week. And how about that? Good timing.
Well, it is good timing, but could I just make a point here? The better timing would have been wait a week when they're out there at the game. What would be the best thing? He takes an official visit to Cal only to commit to Auburn. That would have been absolutely hilarious if that would have happened there. So that's the big recruiting news that we've talked about. I can confirm that I just went to the soccer match, and boy, is it hot out there. Girls are doing, I think the match is over at this point. They were up 2-0 when I left it there. Aubie was in rare form, as he always is, leading I think they're called the Rowdies, is what they're called.
I think so.
And boy, were they rowdy and hot. It's a great atmosphere. If you've never been out to, as hot as it was out there, the whole stadium was basically filled up. And there were a good amount of American fans.
Yeah, that's good.
That feels weird to say.
Well, that's good. That's the similar thing we've always talked about with what we hope one day happens with a basketball weekend at a home football weekend, is people taking advantage of the other sports on campus and during the home weekend and sticking around for the whole of the Auburn experience. Making sure they're going out to see Karen Hoppa's soccer team is a great start. So good for them.
You're just bringing it all the way around, aren't you?
I'm trying to, man. I'm trying to learn from you.
Don't learn too much from me. Because if what you've learned from me this weekend is how to spend way too much money on parking, then you needed to. That was the most expensive Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit. I don't want to bore people with the story, but we'll talk about it probably in a little bit, because it's probably going to be a rant, and I'm just going to be completely honest with you.
It'll be this week's Scratch of the Old Man segment.
Just one, though, because I don't know that you're going to be as upset about that.
When I saw you and you told me, I felt for you. But one last Auburn potpourri thing, and I know you posted about it from E2C Network. Can you believe the equipment truck just left for Cal?
Yep.
Not 24 hours after the game.
I thought about this.
I really didn't. But when I saw it, I said, yeah, that makes sense. You got to get going.
Think about it. It's I think if you did it in one trip, I think I've seen it post where it's a 60-hour drive or something like that. I think I probably am completely wrong on that. But 60-hour drive. And so if you're only supposed to drive, 12 hours of the day, as what truckers, I think, are recommended, that's
5 days.
Yeah, there you go. So about the time that the team will probably be arriving, because they'll fly out Thursday normally, I think.
I think so.
After classes, and then they'll do walkthrough Fridays and all that kind of stuff. But either way, it was cool to see it pull off into the sunset. Well, it wasn't sunset. Pull off into the distance and go California dreaming. I'm not going to do any more California puns.
That's a long trip. Were you able to see how many were in the truck?
I saw two gentlemen get in and out and in and out and in and out of the truck. That's how long it took them to leave.
Just two, man.
There were several people around loading and stuff.
Sure.
But as soon as I heard the trailer thing come down in the back, I heard the engine crank up, the lights kind of went on, and we still were 10 minutes. It was like, come on, I want to go to the soccer game. Let's go. Either way, they're on the road. Obviously, we're going to be talking a lot about California stuff all next week. But for now, let's get into our main two segments tonight. We've got to discuss game day weekend and, of course, the game versus UMass. Today, however it is, because it's day where we are, at least that's what the window over there tells me, the first game weekend of the year. How does it feel?
It felt great, literally. The weather that we were expecting, probably more of today in the mid-90s.
Right.
Was not yesterday.
Yeah.
And that we had nice overcast. I still got some sunburn.
I was going to say, you look a little
red there.
I'm seeing way too much of your thighs. I'm just going to be honest. You guys can't see that down there. For those of you on audio, be thankful you're not watching. We always want you to come watch, but
I just want to go ahead and put out the disclaimer. Look how awkward that looks. I am wearing shorts. I'm going to stand up.
No, could you play? These are the shenanigans that happen when we get together.
I always wear pants while we're recording because of the computer fiasco when it fell. So no worries there. But I did get a little burnt. It was a little hot, but it felt like it was just on you, not the heat temperature hot. So it felt great. There were tons of people around inside and outside the stadium. it felt like a great weekend. It was a Auburn home game weekend with a lot of excitement in the air.
This was like the best possible weather that you could have asked for an opening weekend.
Yes,
because
100%.
and when I say that, do we all want a nice, really good breeze rolling through and 65,
Correct.
maybe 70 at best? Sure, but that's not a reality in September.
Not a chance.
But 85, I think max is what it was, 83, maybe something like that.
Mhm.
Overcast, but still enough sun coming through so it's not gloomy at all at the same time. And then a little bit of a breeze. I don't know if the Auburn Chamber of Commerce like sold their soul to the devil or something like that, but whatever they did, they paid for this to get here and just have an absolutely great day for the town, for the university, and obviously the football team. I enjoyed the heck out of this weekend, even some gripes I'll get to in just a little bit.
Yes, I mean, it was great. Campus felt busy, but not where you couldn't move. I feel like it felt the tents were up, the tailgates were up, everybody was rocking and rolling. The weather certainly helps that, but I mean, I think we can get into this with the game day portion of it. It's not game specific, but the whiteout was fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, it was executed perfect, which is a hard thing to do.
Yes, it is.
When it's not one of your, dominant main colors, which can be a struggle at times anyway. Orange sometimes is rough, but the whiteout was perfect. Students did a fantastic job. The game day atmosphere was it was back. It was what we all look forward to every year, and it was back.
I had the choice, Austin, of wearing a white shirt that said Auburn Tennis into a football game or wearing the E2C shirt. And I was bad and I wore the E2C shirt.
Oh.
So I was one of those, few that mixed and mingled in with all of the white that was out there.
Yep.
I think a lot of the media people even said it, that this kind of felt like the best coordinated effort in some time.
Yeah.
And it shows up well when it's wear white versus wear blue or orange, because orange maybe shows up just a lighter color.
Right.
So I thought that was really well done. I love the participation from the students, especially. That was just a sea of white out there.
Oh yeah, there was very few that were rebels like yourself in the student section. I mean, I saw you earlier in the day, and I didn't even put it together. I guess I had faith and hope that you had a backup change of shirt to participate with white.
This was the best I had, other than Auburn Tennis.
Well, Auburn Tennis would have been fine. We're okay with supporting.
It's football game day. Trust me, I got my gymnastics shirt, my softball shirt. I'll wear them proudly. You've seen me on the streams wear
We're
them.
going to find you a white Auburn football shirt then, I guess.
Then I'm going to sweat through it even more than I am right now. Okay, rest of the game day discussion stuff out here. I thought that the tailgating, got kicked off really early. It seems like even for a 2:30 game in seasons past, it was really slow going.
Yeah.
But this time, people were ready to be back. It's a new era, obviously,
Correct.
Coaches and everything that's been going on the last two or three seasons for Auburn. Everybody was really excited. I had the opportunity to stop by a few tailgates. And by the way, thank you to so many of you that stopped me personally yesterday and said hello, that either listening, follow us, however you get to E2C Network. Please continue to do that. That was humongous. Like, that makes my day when people stop by and just want to talk and say hello. So for me, that was like one of the biggest highlights of game day, other than just being on campus.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and that's this kind of stuff that we look forward to outside of just the excitement of Auburn football. Is the camaraderie, the family, the things that make Auburn special on game day. I can't remember which reporter did it, but one of our local beat writers did her first time as the game day experience, and she had a lot of that. And it was one of those things where I think a day like yesterday for you and I, sometimes we take for granted the things that happen regularly on Auburn game day that are run of the mill for us, but don't happen everywhere.
Right.
And things like that, where you just get welcomed into the tailgate, or someone saw you, and a love for Auburn's the only similarity you need. So it was great. Yesterday's game day experience is what we all hope for.
Only if it was just a little like the coolest weather possible. But we'll get that maybe. That Georgia game, I'm really hoping is going to be a night game, but also is going to be like that nice, just
the real fall day
where it's warm in the day, but as soon as that sun starts dipping, we're going to have like 65, something like that. And with that energy of that game, if Auburn comes in undefeated, we might have to just spend the whole segment, the whole show after that one, talking about the game day experience. I'm going to gripe.
Oh boy.
I'm going to do it.
Oh boy.
I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to get into the whole story about how I spent $40 for an hour of parking. That's something for in person if you want to know that. But I will say my continuous gripe is about parking. And it's not even, there's no one responsible party. There's no one responsible group. But I think you will all agree with me that come to campus that aren't able to afford the nice parking spots. It is getting more and more challenging to find parking close to campus. Would you agree? Yeah. Ish?
Yes.
Ish?
Yes. I mean, it's certainly, if you're not willing to go out there, and you and I were both there when we saw each other, it was pretty early in the game day experience. If you're not willing to go find a random parking spot on the street at 8 in the morning,
and you got to be careful with that too.
You do at 8 in the morning and leave it there all day, then you're going to be paying something. And so I know that you had a struggle, and I'm very sorry about that. It was the first thing you told me when I saw you that day.
I told everybody
when I ran into you that day.
That's the first. I didn't even say hi to people. I said, "Let me tell you about my day." Let me tell you, I spent $40 for a Chick-fil-A chicken biscuits.
Hi, Kyle. Yeah, you're from E2C Network. Would you like to come into our tailgate? Well, yes, but I'm going to tell you about my parking problem.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how it went down. Here's the good and the bad with making more parking paid, but also just the other elements of it. It makes campus a little bit easier to manage logistics-wise, makes it stay a little cleaner on game day as much as you can. But for me, yes, it's the frustration. It takes away some of that old nostalgic feeling of people just parking up and just, being as packed in together as much. There's a little bit of that excitement that goes away each time we all get pushed further and further out.
Yeah. No, it definitely loses the natural feeling of it, of, parking and going to the game. And like you said, there's benefits of it. I see why certain of it, obviously you bring in more money, but there's obviously benefits of that seems to happen regardless anyway, though. You just benefit other ways by keeping it more organized, but it's certainly getting to be a little more difficult. Can I bring up a high note to take you out of your small?
We're going to go back to something. We're going to end on a good note, but you go ahead with yours.
Good. This was the first time the Twin Boys did make it to campus.
That was a high note.
They made it. We walked around campus. We even went to the bookstore and got them something to commemorate it. Did not go the first game. We're going to save that hopefully for later in the year.
But make sure that one counts.
Exactly. And it's perfect weather. But the Twins made it on campus for an Auburn football game for the first time. And Kyle got to see them.
It's pretty awesome. That was definitely a high point. So just imagine, Kyle, just come from a low point, high point. There was another one, I'm probably sure, at some point.
It was providential timing, for sure.
It's what I needed. Somehow God always knows what you need when you need it. So there's that. I also want to talk about Tiger Walk real quickly with the last few minutes in this segment. First one for Hugh Freeze.
Yep.
Great showing from everybody, and there were some real lame ones last year. I mean, you used to have to claw and fight even in the last days of Gus to get a Tiger Walk spot. For the last 2 years, unless Cadillac was leading the team, you basically could show up as Tiger Walk was starting. This one, I got a call from Clint, so shout out to Clint, and said, "Are you here yet?" "No." "You might want to get over here." And sure enough, he was right. Like where I like to be, near the banner, it wasn't crowded yet, but if I had not gotten there, it would have been a little bit more difficult. So we could live stream it for all of you. But we had a great experience. They put the barricades back up when the banner starts. So there used to be no barricades.
Okay. I was going to ask you about
except the front. Like they've always had those barricades at the front, right when they get to the stadium to kind of make it easier. But they ran them all down Donahue this time.
Interesting. Because I was going to ask you about that because I saw some of the footage Auburn put out, and it looked like they had the thin
some of it was
paper. Okay, so it wasn't all the metal gate barricades like usual.
The closer you got to stadium, metal barricades. The further away you got, more of the paper, plastic, whatever it is.
Because I said, no way they just made a line of people with no barricade.
Right.
I mean, I don't think anything would happen, and you hope that it wouldn't. But we all have a few crazies out there in the family, as all families do. And so, but I mean, I thought it looked great, like to have that, and if people still abide by it, it feels like you were mentioning with parking, some natural. It's not everybody was touching. Obviously, there was security still, but it looked big. It looked like it was a massive Tiger walk, as the first one typically is, but
Right.
especially of a new era and things like that.
If you want to be up in the business of the players and coaches, go closer to the buses because that's where no barricades
Okay.
are. So yes, but once we got down to the banner, just that's where I always like to be because it's
Yeah.
a great shot with the banner there. And shout out to the tailgate that manages that every year. But even with the frustrations of parking and my one gripe session, the weather, Tiger walk, the tailgating, just the whole package, I don't know that you could have asked for a better opening weekend.
And
It's
the
gonna be
Eagle
hard to
flew
top.
good.
The Eagle flew good. I guess technically we could talk about that during the game day portion too. But did you expect anything less? It's the Raptor Center. Come on. I mean, you can't control the birds. I can attest to that. Gone are the days of Spirit going, and then we all fade off, and then we scream, and he comes back in. But all that being said, great game day experience that we are excited to see how it only amplifies as we get further and further into the freeze era. Let's talk about the actual game. Wow. Auburn football is back, baby.
Oh, that's for sure.
What stuck out to you? I mean,
man.
I know that's a big loaded question.
That is a loaded question. There were so many impact players, new impact players we were all hoping to see how they would gel together. I think it'd be hard not to talk about first and foremost Robbie Ashford having a day. 3 rushing touchdowns. And I think, Kyle and I are one where we typically listen to the press conference pretty often. Coach Hugh Freeze saying Robbie Ashford is vital to this program and this team's success was not just jargon to say, well, he's a backup quarterback. Please don't transfer.
Please.
He was. And there was a clear plan for him. Kudos to Robbie for buying in and for being, willing and malleable to fit into what space he is to help this team win. I loved it. I don't have a problem with that mixing out the quarterback. Now, I think it's going to be difficult more as he gets more on tape and people prepare for him. UMass is coming in blind. But the way it worked against UMass was about as good as you can hope for.
What I liked is not only did you put Robbie in to actually, live by what you talked about in the press conferences, but you put him in and did more than just run. He had opportunities to throw. They didn't work out necessarily, whether that was a Robbie thing or a miscommunication thing or a penalty. There were a couple of times penalties were on his particular throws or on the receiver that took away probably would have been a little bit more momentum for him. I mean, he came in not just because Peyton was hurt. He came in because, no, this is your time to lead the drive right now. He needs a break. Let him in. Go lead us down to a touchdown. And he did it with his legs. I think everybody would love to see him throw one too. But Coach Freeze has lived up to his word that Robbie's a part of this offense.
Right.
And he will be. The great thing is we now have on tape for everybody to see.
Exactly. He
will throw the ball. We all know he's going to run. And good luck trying to catch him.
Right. And I mean, that's the point of these opening games, right? Is you want to give enough for Cal next week to prepare for, but not show your whole arsenal. And so I thought it was great. Robbie, as the game got out of hand, Robbie got the chance to lead. I think that's where you can say Peyton Thorne probably still is the starter for a reason.
Right.
And he has different intangibles that'll help this team more than Robbie. And I think that was on display. But there's things both of them can work at, but they both worked well together. You love to see when they're coming off the field, both of them supporting each other, both of them talking, sharing what each of them sees. That's a quarterback situation I think you have to be happy about if you're an Auburn fan.
I'm real happy with this. And we even got to see Holden.
Like you did?
Holden through I've had some debates with people whether this was by intention or it was a misthrow by him or something like that. But I thought they were pretty decent back shoulder throws. I mean, sure, the receiver had to come back. It was Malcolm Johnson who caught both of those. Come back a little bit. But more so than not, he gave his receiver an opportunity to make a play. How many times have we talked about a quarterback zipping it in there and just not even putting it in a window?
Right.
Because the rule is if you're a receiver, you get your hands on the ball, it's your job to make the catch.
Absolutely.
Even if it is a bad throw. So giving players opportunities, that's what the quarterbacks did all day. So I'm really happy with that. No Jarquez.
No Jarquez Hunter. But the run game seemed to be okay.
Right.
Yes, there's always going to be it was UMass. Yes, it was. But to have every running back score a touchdown is pretty good. And all the way down to your walk-ons.
Is it every single one?
I think so.
So Sean, I don't think Justin Jones scored one. Did he?
Justin Jones
got it. Did you miss that one?
Did I miss? I thought is
He got-
Justin Jones?
He's still here.
Oh wow.
So he's
okay. I missed that one then.
But I understand you probably
Yeah.
missed him because of the short time he was in there.
Sure.
But Sean Jackson,
Sean Jackson, Jeremiah Cobb,
yeah,
Damari Alston,
Damari.
and Brian Batty scored, right? Am I missing Brian Batty?
Now I'm questioning myself. Either way,
a dominant day on the ground.
Yeah.
That's what you hope for. When I think there's a case to be made, Jarquez is still very valuable to this team.
Yeah.
And will be as we get into the season. But great to get some snaps for these guys,
Mm-hmm.
some meaningful snaps, and to see what you have with this, relatively young running back room.
Yeah, I hope people will not become so focused on what's going on with Jarquez. We don't need to know what's going on with Jarquez. All you need to know is he's not playing right now, and then you have a running back room that is very capable even without him. Now, without Jarquez there, was there maybe an edge off of the room just given what he does? Sure. But Jarquez, I think, he's obviously still on the team. He was on the sideline, just not dressed out. In fact, he was like below me the entire game up in the upper deck. So I was just sitting there wondering, like, is he going to ever go like suit back up in halftime or something like that? But they don't come out in pads and stuff. They're not going out there.
Right.
My guess, I have no information. My guess is he's not traveling.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
I'm going to be the same. I think that we'll probably not play him this weekend. Like you said, we know nothing officially or anything like that. So, but I think you can be content after yesterday to see what this room has. And I was pleased with them. What's an area for you maybe that you were a little concerned about going in and still saw those concerns?
The explosive plays that were given up at times, especially in the running game. And everyone wants to place blame on it's because of the defensive lines, because of the linebackers. I don't know that it's necessarily one or the other. I just think it's still cohesion that's trying to be had between the front seven.
Correct.
Because we all know what the defensive back group is. I mean, they're studs all back there. We'll talk about them in a second, but to me, it's the explosive plays.
Yeah, and I think after the first drive, right, for UMass, when they marched downfield, 90 yards or so and score, we all were worried. It was like, okay, this is what we thought was coming.
We are who we thought we were.
are who we thought we are.
Dagnabbit.
But, I think it was good to see. We have to remember, too, this is not just Hugh Freeze's game. This is offensive coordinator Phil Montgomery, defensive coordinator Ron Roberts' first game at Auburn as well with the new team. So I think as he saw what was coming or what ended up happening on that first drive, he was able to change what he wanted to do to fit him. And I think, what was it, late in the fourth quarter till UMass scored again after that point?
Yeah.
That you had, a little more blitz packages, a little more pressure off the edge for this defensive line and linebacker group. But you also, and I'm going to keep saying this, nothing against UMass, but they did come to our place on the opening weekend for a reason. You wonder how that'll play with Power 5 teams like Cal, and then as we get into our conference schedule. So that's definitely still a question mark for me as a front seven and the linebacking group.
Right.
So we'll just have to see. But, I think there's optimism to take from yesterday, but there'll definitely be still work to do once you look at the film.
Is it fair to say that the player of the game is Jalen Simpson?
Oh, I don't know how not.
Like,
you get the only 2 turnovers the game.
And you run one back.
Yeah.
You nearly did the other one.
Yeah.
Was it Keontae Scott that jarred the ball loose for him to pick it up?
Donovan Coughlin
thank you.
got it.
One of the other studs, defensive back.
But what a day for Keontae Scott in special teams and the defense. I mean, almost housed 2 punts.
Yes.
And he's going to get one by the end of the year. I'm confident in that.
When that first kickoff went, and I know there were different people in the different points, but like I said, this is about to get ugly for UMass. If we run this first one back, like this place is just going to lose its mind.
Yep.
Especially with the way the weather is starting and everything. The energy is in the room and all that stuff. I mean, look, there's clear things in this first game that have to be cleaned up that are not perfect, but I find it hard to latch on to those things. Does that make sense? Like, there's too much good for me to be upset with the things that maybe frustrated me.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you have to look at what did Auburn fans want to see more than anything from this weekend. You want to see Auburn handle an opponent. Score. Absolutely. You want to see Auburn handle an opponent that has talent less than them. And you want to see them win in considerable fashion and play well on all 3 facets of the game. And I think you can say that. I think we're all happy to see an offense that looks like it might be a little more competent than years past. I do want to remind everyone, Brian Harson's first 2 games, we scored 60 each. So I'm not being Debbie Downer.
Why you gotta bring that up?
I'm just tempering expectations.
Why you gotta bring that up?
I feel that this looks different, and I think anyone would say that with the way the schemes look, the way the offense ran, and the opportunities different playmakers had.
We also had Bo Nix.
We also had Bo Nix,
who's just tearing it up. I'm just going to say. So is TJ Finley, but we're not even going to get into that here. All in all, I think if you're someone who's making big definitive statements about this team off of one game, you're in the wrong place right now. You don't need to be making those definitive statements. There are clear things to fix. There are clear things that we did very well. Game 2 will definitely start trending in a direction where we can start making some assumptions about this team, but it's really probably 3 or 4 games in before we make some solid conclusions.
We want to know what this team looks like in SEC, the best league in college football.
Absolutely.
And we won't get that until they go to College Station and play Texas A&M. So
it's coming very soon.
It will be. Next week will be interesting. Are you going to stay up and are you going to make it? It'll be 10:30 your time.
I might have a few things going on this weekend that that may dictate how late.
Sure.
Let me put it this way. I'll probably be up regardless. And we'll see what's going down with all that. Obviously, we're going to be back here at some point to talk about that.
In here?
Unless you want me just to travel back here, just at it'll be 1:30 your time.
I'm hoping.
Starts 9:30
later. Yeah.
So it'd be almost, by the time I got here, it'd probably be about 2:00.
We will not be in here.
We will not be in here. But who knows? We might do an in-person one again because apparently he invited me back. I don't know what mistake he made. Clint, he didn't learn. If you invite me in, I keep coming back. Either way, we appreciate you guys being here, hanging out with us, and listen to our first live in-person together show. Hopefully many more to come. On our way out, where can they find you on social media? You go first. It's your house.
Yeah, oh, well, thank you so much. I'm glad you said in social media because I don't want to tell my address. So,
unless you want me to give it out so people can just randomly come by and be in the background.
Please do not come by here. Austin G. Scott on Twitter /X and Austin G. Scott on Instagram. Come talk to me. We're getting into the numbers now. The 50s are going to be a little tough.
Yeah.
I mean, just when I think I'm out, it's right back.
You're the one that started this trend. I didn't ask for it.
A long time ago.
You can find me on X/Twitter, whatever, at Kyle Loomis24, and of course follow E2C Network anywhere and everywhere, even the TikTokies that's blowing up lately for us. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We had a lot of fun with this one on special episode 50. Till we talk to you again. War Eagle.
War Eagle.